Hey, guess what? It's the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central. Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker, and our buddy and teammate here at STL Sports Central, Mike Claiborne, will join us later in the show after the Cardinals' 3-1 win over the Mets down in Florida today. The Cardinals did get a little bit of offense. We'll tell you about that in a moment. But 5 one-run innings from Michael McGreevy. He allowed 4 hits. He struck out 3, and he walked 1. McGreevy has a 2.7 ERA this spring. And Matthew, he has performed really well, and not just in terms of the numbers, but he's a guy, and today's game was on Matrix Midwest. He just looks the part when he's out there. I don't see McGreevy. He's not a huge strikeout guy. He's not a game one of the playoffs against Zach Wheeler's starting pitcher. But is he a guy that can help you be a really good team, a team that wins, not this year, but wins 92, 93 games sometime? Yeah, I think that if he's your number 3, Michael McGreevy is a pretty good guy.
When you see McGreevy on the team sheet, what are you watching in a Michael McGreevy start? What are you watching in the average at bat with Michael McGreevy that makes that jumps out to you? What are you watching from him during spring that says this is what he was in August? This is what I need him to be when April rolls around.
Dave Duncan always said to his pitchers, and his pitchers, the good ones, always echoed what he said. The most important pitch is strike 1.
Mm-hmm.
So McGreevy gets ahead of hitters. He's got terrific command, and it's command within the zone. I mean, it's one thing to have to put the ball where you want to put it, within the strike zone. Okay, you've got 18 inches, and so you have command and you can throw a strike. But if you can split the plate up into thirds or even better, quadrants, then you have a chance to be great. And I get the sense that McGreevy is one of those guys, and I've never asked him about it. I don't know if he's good enough like a Greg Maddux to split that thing up into quadrants, but I do get the sense that he can split the plate up into thirds. And the other cool thing about McGreevy, and this is not part of watching him in an at-bat, but okay, let me go back to that, because he can move the ball around, okay? So he can throw the ball where he wants to, get you up and in and then low and away, change your vision. So he's really good at that. But the other part of it is when he does make the rare mistake, you never know when you're watching him that he has made a mistake. And my comp is kind of unfair because he's a really good pitcher. But after that first great half a season that Jack Flaherty had with the Cardinals in 2019.
Okay, I like where we're going with this.
When things would start going bad, the body language, the shoulders would droop, either looking up or looking down. You would never know what happened with Michael McGreevy the last at-bat. He's always the same. And I think that makes a difference because I think that he's thinking the same. It's not just that it looks the same, but he's moving on. It's like a good golfer, all right? He's able to put the bad ones behind him and move on to the next good one. And that's what you have to do. If you're going to be a stud starting pitcher, you have to be able to deal with adversity. And I think McGreevy does a great job of that. So I think he's got not the best stuff in the world. He doesn't throw 99. He doesn't have the unbelievable breaking ball. He doesn't have that Bob Gibson slider, but he commands. He doesn't walk a ton of guys, and then he doesn't get rattled when things go badly. So those are the things I like the most about Michael McGreevy.
Skyboy says Randy thinks Michael McGreevy is the next Greg Maddux.
Greg Maddux.
That's the headline. That's the headline.
Is, I know.
Let me change it on the show really quick. Okay.
Greg Maddux is 4th.
Randy Karraker says
Michael McGreevy is 3rd.
That's the clip, by the way, Wilson. Randy Karraker says that Michael McGreevy is Greg Maddux.
Hey, this is really true. Okay. I thought Brad Thompson was going to be the next Greg Maddux. From Vegas, had great control, 57 2/3 shutout innings in a row in the minor leagues, record that I think has only been beaten by one guy.
Have you told Brad this?
He was so thrilled about that. Yeah. So he was so happy that I thought he was going to be the next Greg Maddux.
I feel like Brad Thompson's answer probably would have something like, Randy, if you just would have been 10% right, I'd have a lot more money.
He would have a lot more money.
I feel like that's I feel like that was what was that his reaction? And something along those lines?
Way, both of them were 93, 94. This goes back.
I want to know what his exact reaction was.
You've heard BT talk about his blackout rage on the mound when things would go bad. We're talking about McGreevy. You never know how he felt. When you watched Greg Maddux pitch, it was the same way. He was on to the next guy. Pitching is so much like golf, and it's so much up here. Well, if you're having blackout rage because somebody just hit a home run off of you, you're not going to be as effective for the next hitter. And I don't think that's bothered Greg Maddux. And I think it did bother BT. So I think physically he could have been there, but I think at that stage of his life, his emotions got the best of him many times.
Was Julian Tavares the guy who would just scream,
talk about emotion,
scream all day long into his glove?
Yeah.
That was as a child, that really imprinted on me, how he would freak out during at bats.
It was amazing.
Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. So anyway, that's an interesting way to get off to the start of the show.
Yeah, right.
So the left field prospects, and Bernie and I are going to dive into this a little bit more later. And Bernie's got a piece up at STL Sports Central about Nelson Velasquez. But today, you've got Velasquez, you've got Gorman, you've got Wong, and Wong working with JJ Wetherholt at second base. But you've got all three of the left field prospects getting opportunities.
Church, Fermin, and Velasquez.
Yep. Yeah. So I think if I had to choose a guy, I think I would go with Velasquez.
As Jeremy Hodge says, he is making a strong case for himself. Showing right-handed power at this point for the Cardinals is kind of like giving water to the dying man. Anything is going to seem like it's pretty good at this point. And that's what Nelson Velasquez is right now for the Cardinals. They don't have a lot of right-handed power. That home run was huge. Eric Ledford says Nelson Velasquez could make the team. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if multiple of these guys all make the team, because Fermin is showing that he can play center field. He's showing he can play left field. When he was seen leaving the facility the other day, there was a first baseman's glove peeking out of his bag. He used that for a couple drills earlier this week as well. So Jose Fermin has so much versatility. Velasquez gives you the right-handed bat. Wouldn't shock me at all if multiple of these guys all make the team.
So, okay, 4-man bench. You've got 9 starters. So, and let's presume right now, for the moment, that on opening day, Nootbaar's on the IL.
Yes.
And Velasquez is in left field.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so let's.
Nootbaar's on the IL. Velasquez is in left field.
Okay, we've done this before, but let's do it again, because with the you've got JC, you've got Urias, you've got Church, and you've got Pozo. I don't know if there's a spot on this team for Jose Fermin, because of you're giving Urias $2 million, and you don't give a guy $2 million and then cut him. It just doesn't work that way. So I think they like JC better than Fermin. Church is a better outfielder than either of those guys. And if you need defensive help in left field for the last couple of innings for Velasquez, I think you do that. And then Pozo is nominally, because you don't know about Herrera, your backup catcher. I don't know if Fermin is on this roster.
So I think he is, because this is what we did the other day, and this is 12 people right now.
You get 13.
Herrera's Pajes Pozo, Burleson, Wetherholt, Wynn, Gorman, Fermin, VS2, Walker, JC, Church. That's 12. We get a 13th. If that's Velasquez, then all of them are in there, and JC after he comes back.
Urias in there?
I do not have Urias in there.
Urias is a $2 million major leaguer.
You're right. You're right. That's a really good point. But
are you going to get rid of JC?
Okay, and see, this is why I know you criticized me. I don't think you were wrong to criticize me, but I also don't think I was completely wrong with pointing out that Thomas JC might have made a little bit of a mistake by going to play for Team Italy, because we just saw a game where 3 of the guys competing all got a start because they really want to try to differentiate these 3. Okay. And the 4th guy who's competing wasn't in the competition because he's at the WBC.
But
you're right. So Church. So you're saying Fermin before Church, even though he's playing all these different positions?
But you don't know if he can play center field. You certainly know that Fermin, if you put him in left, is he a dramatic upgrade over Velasquez, who may be limited in left field? So if you want to take Velasquez out, you're up 4-3, 7th inning, and you got a bunch of right-handed hitters, pull hitters coming up. Who do you want out there, Fermin or Church? I don't think you want to roll the dice on a guy who's barely played the outfield.
It would be surprising with how well he's played, the fact that he showed himself so well in center field, and Ali Marmol kind of talked about how you can put a guy out in center field and nothing can happen. But when you have a day like Fermin had, where he gets balls hit to him 3 different times and gets all 3 outs in 1 inning, he connects with his cutoff man multiple times, and he has to do that because he doesn't have a very strong arm for the center field position. Which is, when you combine all of those fundamental facts with the versatility, it I guess it would surprise me. But as you're saying right now, this is how we have it right now. So Herrera's probably has Impozo at catcher, and I also have him listed at DH, but it's in the box. You don't have to count it. Burleson, Wetherholt, Wynn, Gorman, Velasquez, VS2, Walker, with Sajasi, Church, and Urias on the bench.
That's the way I'm looking at it. I think they look at Sajasi as having a higher upside than Fermin, and Church, because of his experience and prowess in the outfield, I think that he's there, and Urias because of the contract. And I would think that if they gave Urias that deal, they probably think that he. What's the point of signing him if you don't think that he's better than Fermin? Because they're basically this. They're going to be doing the same thing. They're going to back up at the infield position. Didn't
we think that because Fermin provides you outfield versatility, and Urias was there in case
if Gorman washes out?
Yeah, if Gorman or if Gorman's defense was so,
and you can send Fermin
was so rough. Does he have another option available?
Options? Fermin?
He's got to, right?
I think 3 years.
Yeah, he should. I just wanted off the top of my head. I just wanted to double check before we lock in on that one. Sure. Lisa Phillipson says, "Hi guys, Gorman isn't athletic enough. Tell it to the guy that hit a triple and then a double on Sean Manaea today." And that's the big thing, is both of those were off Sean Manaea, as was Nelson Velasquez's home run. Again, is Sean Manaea giving it his all? Is he working on something? Is he throwing meatballs over the center, the plate because he's not working on something? I'm not sure. Fermin is out of options. Okay, that's why I wanted to ask that. So Fermin is out of options. So yeah, Gorman isn't athletic enough. We did mention that Gorman big game today. Come on now.
In what world is Jose Fermin so valuable that you can't DFA him?
In a world where
does he have that sort of upside that you think at some point he's going to play for you every day?
No, and the fact that he doesn't have any options is always something that's going to kind of hamstring his ability to stay on rosters, because it now changes his versatility. Why can I not get this damn thing to show up on the screen? There we go. Yeah, this wouldn't surprise me at all. It just would surprise me that Fermin showing out, so well. His bat's been bad at the same time in spring. His bat was much better in last spring, but he wasn't showing this kind of versatility, and they didn't have the pinch they had at a position like they have right now. So things are a little bit different. I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
He also turns 27 in 17 days. And he's out of options. So I don't get a lot of people's enthusiasm with Jose Fermin. And that doesn't mean, he's obviously one of how many players in the history of Major League Baseball, like 21,000 or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, he's a good player, but I don't think for what the Cardinals are looking for right now. The Cardinals, when they were good, could have a Miguel Cairo.
What are they looking for right now?
You're looking for high ceiling guys that can play for you and win for you in 2 years, and you don't care where they come from.
Aren't you looking to replace just Nootbaar for 2 or 3 weeks?
That's Velasquez.
Isn't a high floor more important? Just in this vacuum of a backup for a 3-week span, isn't floor more important?
You aren't worried about winning it all this year. You're worried about, you don't care about the floor. This is a year where you aren't worried about winning at all. What you want to do is find upside for guys that have a chance to have a big upside for you in 27 or 28.
Richard Fulkerson, he's solving the issue for us, Randy. We're keeping everybody because they're sending Jordan Walker down to Memphis.
They're not. By the way, 23,615 Major League players. What would make you think that they're going to send Jordan Walker down to Memphis?
I think when you see the things that Bernie tweeted about how everything that Walker is showing the Cardinals right now in spring is essentially exactly what we know is a problem area for him. Hard hit balls into the ground, not being the laser show we know he could.
So if that's what you think and he can't change it, then why is he even in your organization? Why don't you just move on from Walker? Why would you waste your time having him at Memphis?
Because it's still salvageable, to your point, because of how young he is. But if he's not getting it done in spring, what benefit does it do to force him into the majors, where, as we talked about yesterday with Nate from Pitcher List, where he clearly just isn't where he doesn't have the right approach to the plate to actually bring success. You can't brute force this thing.
Number one, who's your right fielder?
Well, that's problematic. Herrera would have to suck it up, play first base, and Burleson would be back out in right field.
And again, why would you do that when you're not worried about winning? You want Burleson to get better.
Well,
You're right. You want Burleson to get better at first base.
That's true.
You love him at first base
Yes.
already. Herrera wants to play catcher.
Yes.
So again, you have to go back to this being a developmental year. If you're not going to have Jordan Walker on your major league team, then there's no good reason to have him in your organization anymore. And what you do is you bring up Baez and let him play right field.
That's fair. If something is so developmentally problematic and fundamentally problematic, not development problematic in this sense, the word fundamental would be better. If something is so fundamentally problematic, is there a point where it can reach where it is no longer doing the player good to play him in the majors?
Yeah, and that's why you would send him away, because the Cardinals have already determined that it's not going to do him any good to play in the minors.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right?
They've already said that, yeah.
Yeah, so why not, if you're going to go there?
Was that them being short-sighted?
No, I've been told that they plan on having him play in the major leagues at least through the All-Star break. I haven't heard anything, and I haven't talked to people since early in the spring, but I haven't heard anything different or seen anything different that makes me believe that they have changed their plans for Jordan Walker. Now, whether or not he succeeds or not, I don't know. But again, if you're going to, I don't know how you improve your organization by having that guy at AAA this year. If you're not going to have him in St. Louis, you might as well move on from him and move on to the next guy. And maybe you do that at the All-Star break. Maybe that's when Baez, who they want to have get at-bats at AAA, maybe that's when you move Baez up and you move on from a guy like Walker.
Is it the All-Star break and you just kind of bite the bullet at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can find somebody, he'll be 24, 6'6", 250, who showed what he showed at the minor league level. And the Cardinals admitted that they rushed him. And the Cardinals have also admitted that they've messed up other players. It's not impossible that the Cardinal system messed up this player too. And somebody might think, you know what? He's a 24-year-old with a ton of talent. We'll take a chance on him. I think you could probably find an organization or two that would probably take a roll of the dice. I think the Braves, he's from Atlanta. The Dodgers are always willing to, they picked up Luke and Baker. The Dodgers are always willing to roll the dice on a player that has a little pop in his bat. So I could see I could see the Giants making a move for an outfielder like that. I could see multiple teams making a move. Well, Tampa, there's a ton of teams that would love to roll the dice on Jordan Walker, I would think.
Jumping in the chat, if you have any thoughts on Jordan Walker, the pitching, Nolan Gorman today, Nelson Velasquez, the left field, the roster, anything you want to chat about, jump into the chat right now, and we will get to it as Ben Golan, Cards in 28, and Skyboy are getting things going here in the chat.
Yeah, let's get to Walker should not be on the opening day roster. And then I if you don't think that, if you've made that determination, if you're Chaim Bloom and Rob Cerfolio and Ollie Marmol, then I can't disagree with that. But again, what's the point of having him in the organization? And then
and here's why I take it, because when Cards in 28, when you put it this simply, it does put you, but to Randy's point, they're in a rock and a hard place. There's no better way to get out. I just do not understand Walker and right to open. Nothing from his at bats right now are indicating improvement.
That's right.
He's not wrong.
No,
that's a 100% true statement.
But how do you improve if you don't play or if you aren't getting the coaching that the ball club wants you to get? I mean, what is going to make him better about playing against lesser pitching with lesser coaching in the minor leagues?
Because he can work on fundamental things without the heft of the batting average actually mattering.
Now, why did the batting average just start to matter?
I think when you're a major league player, I think you're always thinking about your numbers.
He might, but they're telling him don't worry about it. They're telling us don't worry about it.
But I think that's way too simple of a thing. You know, a guy like that, clearly who's in his head too much. If he's batting 125 and they say, hey, do this thing differently.
You think he'll feel a lot better batting 125 at AAA? You think
no,
that'll make him more comfortable?
But I think your mentality when they say, hey, change this thing, you can go, okay, it doesn't matter if I go 0 for 4 trying this new
They've already
thing.
done that a couple times.
I know they have, and that's kind of the issue. But he's communicating better, and so maybe that communication at some point can lead to actual results. The problem is right now it's not. And Ben Golan in here in the chat agrees with you, Randy. Floor does not matter. Ceiling is what matters the most right now. Cardinals need to develop great talent on both sides of the ball, and that starts with developing high ceiling talent. The issue there, though, is that, I mean, yes, because of his power, Nelson Velasquez has a higher ceiling than Jose Fermin. But that does not mean that Nelson Velasquez is a high ceiling player.
No, it doesn't.
Like we're talking about 3 weeks in April.
Mhm.
Is which is nowhere near as interesting as 3 nights in October. 3 weeks in April is what we're talking about here, essentially. Hopefully that's it. And so that's why I think you can have a slightly different conversation than just the pure who has more upside kind of, talk about every other bigger picture conversation the Cardinals are in.
Let's go to Eric C. I think we've seen enough of Walker. And so as much as we might hate what we see from Jordan Walker, and again, the Cardinals might be lying to you, but what they have said is that they want to give him the opportunity to play in the regular season at the major league level for 3.5 months and see what happens. And it's kind of a do or die, but the Cardinals are not going to make a judgment on a player, even though you don't like what you see. And there isn't an awful lot to like. But the Cardinals are not going to make a judgment on a player based upon what they see this spring. It just, from their perspective, that is not how they're going to evaluate a major league player. Now, if they did want to evaluate a major league player, that would be different. But then you have to evaluate Mason Wynn, don't you? Because he had a bad offensive year last year, and he's hitting 143 this spring. So
did he have a bad offensive year last year because we know for a fact that his fundamentals are shit? Or did he have a bad year last year because he had a groin injury the entire time?
He had a meniscus injury.
Sorry.
And a bad back.
Yeah, it was Donnie who had the groin. My apologies.
But who cares how?
It definitely matters how.
Don't tell me about the labor. Just show me the baby.
Well, but not if you're the doctor. You got to know a lot about the labor. And so my point is the Cardinals in that scenario are the doctor. They got to know a lot about the labor.
Basically what we're doing is some players we're going to judge on spring training, others we're not. That's what you're telling me.
Based on what we were looking at them previously, based on what the problem is, what held them back as a player, the consistency factor. Jordan Walker tried to change things at drive line. Jordan Walker's tried to change things with his approach. He's closing the front foot off. Those kind of things. He's letting them know when he doesn't feel comfortable physically, so they can react to that and those kind of things. There's all these things that are happening that are, you hope, driving improvement for Jordan Walker, and none of it's working. So you react to that.
So are you sitting Victor Scott II?
No, because he's working on bunts. He's going through the process right now. And
he's hitting 174.
Yeah, but he's working on the things they need him to get better at, which is bunting the ball, running the bases.
How many times has he tried to bunt this spring?
I think it's 4 or 5 right now in games.
So
and that's not counting the workouts are more important.
And that should lead to, by the way, bunting for hits should lead to more hits.
It should. You're right
for him.
But it's something
he's hitting 174.
But it's something he's working on at least. And to your point, correct. What he's doing and how because they're obviously measuring all this because they're all gung-ho and you can see it when they highlight. We talked about it too. Instead of 5 guys, instead of like 4 or 5 coaches standing around watching a workout, there's now 15 coaches and analysts watching it. And so what Jordan Walker is doing and how hard he's hitting the ball and how often he's hitting the ball in the air in those workouts is 99% of it. We are seeing the 1% in game. You're 100% correct. My point would be if what we're seeing in games right now, the numbers that Bernie pointed out on Twitter, if that's what they're seeing in workouts all this spring across a month and a half, 6 weeks of work, it wouldn't shock me if there's some reaction to it because it's not just the games. It's not just simulated pitching. It's all the things that they're doing to get a player ready. And if they don't see development and they see the same issues continuing over, I'm not saying you don't start the season with a guy. I will, but it would shock me if they're not reacting to that, though, right?
Again, how would they react? What is the reaction to that action? I think that right now, if you're sitting right behind Chaim Bloom at a spring training game and Jordan Walker strikes out, and you say, Chaim, when are you going to send him down? Chaim would probably do this.
We need to turn that into a GIF and use that on the show from
Yeah.
now on. Just whoa, just
Yeah.
consistently that and RELAX. That's a good point. Let's go with Cards in 28. I am typically more optimistic than the average fan, but I can't find anything to be optimistic about regarding Walker. He looks uncomfortable in the box, and he's swinging at dang near eye-level fastballs.
All of that is true. There is no question about that. My point is this, is that the Cardinals, so you remember that great spring Matt Koperniak had? What did he hit? How many home runs did he hit last year?
I don't remember.
So I remember Jim Lindemann back in 1987. Jim Lindemann rocked. You know who else I remember? Ronnie Cedeno. Remember Ronnie Cedeno?
Oh, yeah.
Bernie asked Mo on 101, how's Ronnie Cedeno looking? Cedeno was in camp with the Cardinals. Mo said, not great. My point is this. None of us remember in the long term how a guy did in spring training. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't. So I think what you need to do is what the Cardinals are going to do. You evaluate people based upon what they do during the regular season. And once the regular season starts and he's supposed to be in a consistent groove and he's facing pitching and he's able to actually prepare 4 different pitchers every day rather than 5 pitchers every day, I think that's where the Cardinals will make their evaluation on Jordan Walker. Now, they're also, this is a guy that was a top 5 prospect in all of baseball who hasn't yet turned 24. Is that right? He turns 24 in May, or does he turn 25 in May? But either way,
turns 24.
24 in May. I think that is something that they're thinking about, is that he's still a very young human being. And I think this organization, because there's still people here, Moises Rodriguez and Randy Flores and guys like that, that were around when the Cardinals traded Randy Arozarena. And obviously Heim was with Mo. And what did Mo say? The biggest regret, I think, for him was the Ozuna trade, followed closely by trading Arozarena. I don't think that the Cardinals want to see another guy leave here and turn into a star, an all-star.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. Steven Siegelhorst says, yep, Gorman and Jordan both need to be moved by mid-year if they can't prove their worth to the team by then.
Yeah, move them now.
I think he's giving you till mid-year.
Okay, yeah, mid-year. So, and again, I think that if you wait until the All-Star break, if you trade him this year on July 31st at the deadline, I think that they'll probably still, both of them have reasonable value, and you can get something in return for them. Not great, but other teams will still look at the potential of those two players, a 24-year-old Walker and a 26-year-old Gorman. And I think other teams would say, yeah, I'll roll the dice on that and say, we can fix that guy. And I think that by the time we get to this year's trade deadline, I think you'd be able to get something for them. And then you can play. See, there you've got Sajasi at third then, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And you could put Baez in right and just you can try that and see if that works. And if they don't work, then trade them next year at the All-Star break or at the trade deadline and trade for somebody else and see who else works.
Silver Cards 1983 says that they've given up on Walker. Just guy can't hit by 24 years old. You're done with him.
Yeah, well, it's I get it. There are a lot of people that have given up on Jordan Walker, and I understand, and I get your feelings. And they're just another team. You mentioned 24 years old. Another team that would trade for Jordan Walker in a blink is the New York Yankees.
Lou Falsetti says, I keep saying with Walker, Pages, Scott in the lineup hitting under 200, it's just going to be a hard thing to watch. People are going to buy tickets for the offense. I know people aren't going to buy tickets for that offense. I know you talk about not winning, but that lineup is the worst in baseball.
That's the problem. And so the Cardinals, the over-under is 68.5 wins, right?
Yeah.
And I think
right around that. I think I've seen 69.5.
Okay. If they are a team that wins, I think every success this team has is going to be because of its starting rotation. I don't think the offense is going to be good either. And my belief is that if the offense performs at an average level, which would be what, 4.5 or 4.6 runs a game, if they perform at an average level, I think that they could be a team that wins 75 or 76 games. I think they could be above that because I have that much faith in the starting pitching. But there's no reason to believe right now, based on the lineup that you see, that they are going to be able to score enough. 4.45 was the average runs per game in baseball last year. And I'm with you. I don't think this offense will be good enough. As a matter of fact, and I think I mentioned this yesterday, how many good offensive players are there right now? Because we don't know about Wetherholt. I would argue that right now, Burleson is a little bit above average and Herrera is well above average. That's 2. I don't think your right fielder or your center fielder or your left fielder or your third baseman or your shortstop or your second baseman or your catcher are up to snuff right now offensively.
Your second baseman might be, but we don't know.
He's never taken an at-bat in the major league.
Exactly.
Right? So I don't know.
Cardinals would say he has the most natural hitting piece in the organization, but until you prove that against Major League pitching, it don't really mean much.
You know who was supposed to be the next Pete Rose was former Cardinal Greg Jeffries.
Sorry, I was prepared to be like, wait, who? But no, I have heard of Greg Jeffries.
Switch hitter, came up with the Mets, and he was supposed to be awesome. And he was, let's see, once he got going in the major leagues, 258 with a 706 OPS, 283 with a 771, 272 with a 711 OPS. Then he gets traded to Kansas City. Finally did well once he got to St. Louis, but it took a while. And you know what? There is no guarantee that just because, and just brace yourselves, kids, for this, JJ Wetherholt was a great college hitter and was capable of being the first pick in the draft if he hadn't been hurt. And he was also a great minor league hitter. That doesn't mean anything once you get to the major leagues because major league pitchers are pretty good.
Yeah, they are. Chat's going kind of crazy, so I'm just going to read some.
Let's do it.
Randy, and I'm just going to have you answer them. No one cares what I think. Eric C. says, Walker over the last 2 years, statistically one of the worst hitters in baseball. Fangraphs has him last or second to last in the league. That was him responding. That was him continuing on a previous play where he says, Randy, it's not just this spring with Jordan. It's been the last 2+ years.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But as Harry Carey once famously said, take
me out to the ballgame.
We always talk about what guys did before. Isn't it what they do next that matters?
Have you ever done that impression for the Carey family?
I don't think I have. No.
Okay, we'll see. I want to see that moment.
Okay. John Rooney does a fantastic Harry Carey.
It's a good point. Ben Gullen jumps back and says, bunts? We're making an excuse for Scott because he's working on bunts? No offense, but that is not an excuse to play Scott. I love Scott. Play him all I care. Great defender. But bunts? Okay. Do you not think the Cardinals are adding that to his repertoire for a reason? Or do you think it's just a fun thing to tweet out sometimes? Like, why else? Like, he's working on bunting more. He's not a great hitter. He uses speed another way. Am I crazy? Like, why wouldn't that be a thing for Victor Scott to work on?
It should be.
Well, come on now.
It should be.
Justin Mathis, one of the first times I think he's chatted with us. Thanks for joining into the chat here. Feels like the chance may be as high as 50-50 that none of our opening day outfielders are in the starting outfielder come September. Oh, this is a great point. Walker could be benched. Church could be more productive than Scott. And then who knows in left field. Yep. That is a fantastic point, Justin. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
50-50. Yeah, I'll take that coin flip.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Craig Lewis says VS2 should have been working on bunts all offseason.
He probably has. They were down at that. Was he down with one of the guys at Cressy?
I believe he was.
I think he was. So I don't know if they bunt down there, but if they don't bunt, he should have been working on bunting all offseason.
Alex jumps into the chat. Let's just hope that whatever Walker has claimed to work on this offseason, it is the type of adjustment that makes something click and he can be able to tread water in Major League Baseball. I think we found some good things when we were talking to Nate yesterday. Guys, I thought yesterday's episode was fantastic. Go back. I think we're going to have a clipped off shorter version of the interview where we talk a lot about the Jordan Walker stuff. I mean, yeah, you think he's bad against breaking balls, but he was horrendous against fastballs. His decision-making was very interesting. We kind of looked at these two different charts that kind of show as soon as he started becoming really aggressive, teams really took advantage of that and absolutely hammered him with breaking balls that he then was terrible against. So, I think part of it's definitely pitch recognition. And I think I would argue that if they just work on his pitch recognition, eventually things like angle will eventually take care of themselves, right?
It should. Now, what makes great hitters great is pitch recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ted Williams always talked about being able to see the red dot on the slider, right, or on the curve, the breaking ball. Some players say, "What are you talking about?" And some guys can see a pitch and know. Albert knows exactly what it is once it comes out of the pitcher's hand. Some guys just react, and some guys have no idea. They're just swinging at what they think. They're guess hitters. Swinging at what they think it's going to be. Some guys know. Some guys guess, and obviously they guess right. Some guys guess and have no idea, and that appears to be where Jordan Walker. It's kind of like we always expected or hoped that Randall Grichuk would lay off that slider from the right-hander away, and he never did.
Derek Ashford dealing with some fan trauma. And, the Cardinals front office may be dealing with this trauma. Once you trade Walker and or Gorman, if they get it together, these fans are just going to complain even more. Just let them grow.
Well, that's been
100% correct.
That's the philosophy here of why they do not want to send Walker down and why they want to give these guys an opportunity. If you want to know why Nolan Arenado is not here, it's so that Nolan Gorman can get a chance to play every day and hopefully hit a few home runs. That was the thing. You know what would be fun is to
triple
talk
and a double
for Gorman today.
Yeah.
I would be interested to talk to somebody from the Angels about how Joe Adell became a good hitter, because Joe Adell's career offensive trajectory is very similar to Jordan Walker's from an age and production standpoint. I'd be interested to see why Joe Adell finally broke out last year at the age of 26.
Well, interesting here. Very first thing I type in how did Joe Adell become a good hitter?
Mm-hmm.
August 12th, 2024. So the end of 2024, before last season when he really broke out. New look Adell making strides after adjusting his swing. Apparently, he simplified his swing, replacing a large leg kick with a more controlled toe tap or lift, which improved his timing and contact rates.
Okay. So he had a career high 778 OPS last year. He had 37 homers, 98 RBIs, don't matter, but he had 37 homers. His previous career high had been 20. He had a 778 OPS. His career high had been 706. He had 18 doubles. His previous career high had been 15. And he just turned into a different hitter, I would assume, because of that adjustment. And
timing lines up doing it at the end of the 2024 season before.
So he came up at the age of 21, had a 478 OPS. That was only in 132 at-bats. Actually, no, 21 was his first. That wasn't even his first full season. His first full season, he hit 224 with 8 homers and 27 RBIs and a 637 OPS in 285 plate appearances. And he went up and down with the Angels. Finally got a chance to play pretty much every day at the age of 25, and that's when the adjustment took place. OPS went up a little bit to 682, but then last year was really a breakout year at the age of 26. That's just in reaction to what happens if they move a guy, because there was thoughts forever that the Angels would move Joe Adell, and they kept saying no. But if you do move a guy, there is that chance that he'll turn into a good hitter.
This is a great quote from Joe Adell. This is in January of this year. He talked about how gaining experience helped him improve his baseball IQ, which was a big part of him in his breakout campaign. You try to adjust who you are to try to match the competition when the reality is you had it the whole time. Looking back through 2019, 2020, 2021, all the way up to 2024, it's kind of like you're trying to find how to change to match the competition when really it was just you've got it. If that does not sound like a quote that could come out of Jordan Walker's mouth in August of this year, if everything goes right, I don't know what else is.
Say that one more time, and then think about Chase Davis.
You try to adjust to who you are to try to match the competition when the reality is the whole time you had it. It's kind of like you're trying to find how to change to match the competition when really it was just you've got to see it. That was Joe Adell talking about what was one of the things behind him going from what he was, potential bust, to 37 home runs.
I had a Cardinal minor league coach tell me that Chase Davis, he said, he can be a dude. And I keep telling him you can be a dude, but he doesn't say that to himself.
Yeah.
That confidence you can be a dude.
I mean, walking it before you can talk it is pretty, or talking it before you actually have to walk it. Fake it till you make it. Put it another way. Fake it till you make it, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. Sometimes it can get you through things, just not with advanced degrees. Don't try that. That's a felony. Jacob says, so JC and AAA makes the most sense based on the early season at bats and not being able to option for Fermin and Velasquez. Newtbar coming back makes it easier to maneuver the roster if any injuries arise.
This is true.
Yeah, he's right.
No doubt about it. But, I mean, again, all due respect, what are you going to use Jose Fermin for? All due respect.
8th and 9th inning play.
So how about JJ Wetherholt working with Colton Wong at second base?
I love seeing that.
I do too.
I mean,
former Gold Glover.
Yeah, they talked about, and I thought it was interesting. Derek Gould had a good perspective, from Colton Wong about how like Wong would always walk to the same field and he would just kind of annoy Jose Oquendo because he's like, I was always an offensive player and I never really thought I'd be a Gold Glover, but getting to work every day, you kind of see what you have to do to become that level of a baseball defender. And I'm pretty excited for what JJ Wetherholt could be. The bat looks great. Obviously, we know that can turn sour at some point, but the back looks great. They're doing the correct thing of giving him veteran mindsets like a guy like JJ Wetherholt or like a guy like Colton Wong. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, me too. And Wetherholt can be a stud. And one thing about him, he wants to work. When you talk about Wong or going and working with Jose, Wetherholt is trying to do everything. And if they want him to go work at third, he will. So he goes over to work at third anyway. And that would be another guy, by the way, that if Gorman would wash out, they could always move Wetherholt to third and they signed Urias and he could play second base. So there's a lot of moving parts with the 2026 Cardinals. I
would hate it if $2 million is like the primary reason Urias makes the roster.
Oh, because you don't sign him to $2 million unless he's gonna make the team.
Just $2 million. Come on.
Well, you could have brought up a lot of different guys for less than $2 million.
Yeah,
you could have signed a lot of different guys for less than $2 million. Right? You could just have been satisfied with Fermin.
Probably the cost of a track, man.
Yeah, you had Fermin, Sajasi, and who am I leaving out? Another middle infielder. You have plenty of guys that could serve that role, but Urias has actually been a decent major league player in the past, especially defensively.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, listen, I don't think you're wrong. It would just bum me out, I guess, a little bit. I want all the decisions to be made based on pure baseball reasons.
Urias a Gold Glover that was in 2022. So 4 years ago, he was a Gold Glover at second base for the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, I still thought that was mainly just. I Urias thing was mainly just if Gorman doesn't show anything, or if JJ looks like he's going to struggle.
Well, you can. That's my point. Is you can move Wetherholt over to third and have a Gold Glove second, plug in a Gold Glove second baseman.
Let's ask some baseball questions to a man who knows it much better than I do. Let's bring in Mike Claiborne live from Jupiter. He was at the Cardinals game earlier today as they took down the Mets 3-1, and now he joins us right here on STL Sports Central.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, but I don't know anything.
Okay,
I'm lost.
Then make up an answer for us here, because the topic of the day is Jordan Walker and his struggles. What's going on down there with Walker? What are they saying? What's he saying? What do you think?
Man, I think we got a mess on our hands. Because really why I say that is, we see the work he's putting in. I mean, this is not a guy who's late or a guy who's dogging it or a guy who's pushing back. I mean, it's just not clicking right now. And, Nolan Gorman was in that same boat, for a while himself. It's part of the maturity process, man. And, I'm not ready to give up on him because it's not like we have some budding star that's ready to take his job. And I know somebody's going to say, what about Baez? Okay, you can have Baez. And I'm going to give you two words on why we don't need another Jordan Walker is Jordan Walker. You can't rush guys, especially guys who probably needed more time and more seasoning. It's easy to pile on the Walker situation right now. I'm not going to lie. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to me, I'm sure to you, and certainly our fans, and more importantly to him, because he wants to be better. This isn't a guy who will tell you, I got to figure it out, whatever. He's frustrated, and for a guy who's pressing right now, I don't think I've seen a guy press more right now than I'm watching him. He had a strikeout today where he looked at a 1-1 pitch right down the middle, and then swung at a pitch that, he just felt like, I guess he needed to, and then he eventually punched out. The approach is just, and the thing is, I talked to him about approach, and everybody obviously has, and it's just something that's not clicking right now, and I don't know what it is. But Walker's the least of your problems right now. You don't have a left fielder, okay? Now, I know Velasquez hit a home run today, and you might see him start on opening day, but I'm not sure if that's the end-all answer. Lars Nootbaar hasn't even put a bat in his hand yet, so I don't know when he's going to return, and I don't even know if he's the answer. But so there's a couple of question marks on the team, and I know people back home are probably saying, well, we don't score. Yeah, you're right, we don't. We really haven't had the regular, what I call the regular lineup in there very often. Today was pretty close to what opening day might look like, though.
Yeah, so we talked about the left field spot. All three of the potential left fielders that are in camp right now all got time. Velasquez, Fermin, and Church. I've been a little surprised by their usage of Church so far in spring training. Do you expect to see maybe an uptick in some of his time at left field to kind of get a better answer?
I do.
Played a lot.
I do. With the team that's starved for punch, Nathan Church isn't the answer, but Nathan Church gives you some. His at bats are probably a little bit more consistent to what you're looking for as far as getting on base, manufacturing runs, things like that. He's going to get a long look, but I also think we have to ask ourselves a question. Nathan Church is a pretty old guy for a rookie. What is he, 26 now? He's gone through the organization, but people in the organization love him. They're going to give him as much of a chance as they can. And hopefully that'll be enough to prove people who question what kind of player he is, prove them wrong. Because, again, like I said, left field's wide open.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Another good outing for McGreevy today. I was telling Matthew earlier, I just love what he is, and I don't think that he starts game one of a playoff series against Zach Wheeler and goes out and outpitches Zach Wheeler. But, man, you give me Michael McGreevy as my number 3 starter, number 4 starter, and I like what he brings to the table. What do you think?
He's a number 3 guy on this team. He's probably a number 4 on a team that's probably above 500, and he's a number 5 guy on a very good team. His spirit, his competitiveness is something you appreciate. His stuff is okay. He thinks through things extremely well, and he makes adjustments along the way. I'm a Michael McGreevy fan, but I think he's getting more of a longer look now with the Cardinals compared to other teams because we need him. I mean, your options after him are Palante, who wasn't as good as you wanted him to be last year, and Richard Fitz, who's trying to make the ball club. So McGreevy's a good bridge between the front guys you have and certainly the back end guys who are competing. And also throw in Kyle Leahy, who's starting for the first time in his big league career.
Got to see Dustin May for a second time yesterday. Just your thoughts on what the Cardinals had with him.
I like what I saw. Velocity was there. His movement was there. Pitched out of a jam, pitched around an error. He did a lot of things well yesterday. He's a feisty guy, man. I mean, he punched out a couple of guys yesterday, and you could tell that he was like, yeah, because as Ali talked to us yesterday about the fact that he's finally gained the weight back that he lost from his episode of the offseason or last season with the esophagus issue. So he hasn't really felt up to strength, and but now he feels like he's there. They don't have any restrictions on him, and he's giving them exactly what they were hoping for.
And then
in early sample size, let's just put it that way. Because all of this changes in about 3 weeks, okay? Because you're gonna have the everyday lineups in there. You're going to have lefties who now are not just tracking pitches, but now have a game plan for you. You have people that, you didn't see much of in the spring that are really trying to figure it out. And I always caution people, the first month, man, you don't know who you are. You really don't. You don't know who you are as a person. You don't know who you are as a player. You don't know who you are as a team. And it's going to take some time to figure out who the Cardinals are because they're still trying to put this thing together.
If we're just talking about a approach and seeing an improvement there, I'm not trying to just ask this just because Gorman had the triple and the double today. But again, you talk about Jordan Walker's approach and things like that. When you see Gorman last year in August and then he struggles for the last 2 months, and then you see him here in spring, is anything jumping out to you about Nolan Gorman and kind of him setting himself up for strong 2026?
Yeah, you know what? He's laying off certain pitches he was looking at as strikes. He's not trying to pull the ball. I mean, he's trying to stay up the middle of the field. His swing is a little bit more level than what we've seen in the past. So there have been some subtle adjustments. Now, with that said, I can tell you the same thing. Jordan Walker was the same guy. Swing is a little bit more level. Now, he's a little bit more upright than I would like because he has too much of a strike zone because of his size for pitchers to work on. But I see some improvement with Gorman. Not just today, but just some at-bats. And I think the biggest indicator is, man, how few strikeouts he has in the spring. Because last year he was a walking strikeout. Last season he was not a walking strikeout, but he had a pretty good step about it. But now it just seems like his pitch selection and recognition is a little better. And I wish I could tell you more about it, but Nolan's a guy of few words, okay? He doesn't have a lot to say about anything. So for me to sit here and tell you that he said, Claves, let me tell you what I'm doing, that's just not who he is. And that's okay. I mean, we've been around the game long enough. We can kind of see for ourselves. And, Brownie's been good about things that he's seen, and BA, the other hitting coach. So it's not like, we need to bring in, George Brett to figure out why this guy's swinging the bat better.
Okay, so that brings to mind this question. Who is a man of fewer words, Gorman or Leahy?
It's a good thing George Hendrick isn't here, but George did it by choice. Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, man, when you get Leahy to talking, he's not bad. He just you better ask the question because he's not going to say much to you. I mean, and he doesn't mean anything, but he's not. One of the things about this team, they're young. I like the character of these guys. I was talking to Colton Wong about it the other day, and he was like, man, these guys don't do a lot of talking, do they? I said, well, they have some guys that talk. They're just trying to get to know you. And I just think the guys who are trying to figure it out are better listeners than they are talkers. And
is there
with Leahy's case,
I know Victor Scott likes to talk before.
Mason will engage you in a conversation. We have a guy named Mike Antico. He's not with us now, but he's a career minor league guy. He always chatterbox. We don't really have anybody. Stanek is a pretty good conversation in just the brief time he's been here. Those guys are the ones that kind of stand out. Stanek kind of replaces Miles Michaelis, who was a guy that was engaging in some very spirited and interesting conversations, not only about pitching. I'm trying to think of who else really stands out.
I know you've done this. Back when I was covering the team every single day, when the Cardinals would make a deal, I'd either ask somebody from the other team or give them a call and say, I didn't care about the batting average or the ERA. Hey, what kind of a talker is he?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of the same way. And now I get people who call me about players, and I had to catch myself. And it was funny because even when Katie Wu went to the Dodgers, Dave Roberts called me. He said, all right, what are we getting here? I said, wait a minute, we talking about a player or a reporter? He said, well, let's start with the reporter. And I love Katie. Katie's one of my favorite people of all time as far as writing is concerned. And I'll say this right now. We miss her and we miss John Denton already.
Big time.
And, Katie moved on to greener pastures to L.A. and who could blame her being from California? John Denton, I just think, got the wrong end of a deal. But we miss them, not only their personalities, but their writing skills. Because now, we're down to just about 3 or 4 guys and, you take your pick. Some guys I don't even read. I mean, I'm not a big – I guess for me, and I respect what these guys do because it's hard. I just don't read them a lot because I'm sitting in the same room that they are. when I'm talking to players and talking to the manager and my relationship with different people. And they may know a little bit more than me on certain things, but I'm good. If it's something that really makes me scratch my head, I know how to ask a question.
Yeah.
This is a young group. It seems like, that when they're around each other, there's a good atmosphere. Do you think that fans will get that from this team this season, or do you think it'll be a little bit too much losing to let that out?
You know what? That's a good question. Now you got to have a reason to celebrate, right? You got to do well on the field. I don't know if we'll be high-fiving each other after somebody gets a double or drives in a row. They'll be, professional about it. And I think we have to take this into account. Most of the guys we're talking about have been in the league for at least 2 years. Okay, so they've seen how this works. I mean, with the exception of Wetherholt, everybody we're talking about and Velasquez, who wasn't here last year, they've all been around the big leagues for a while. So it's not something where we just decide to promote the Memphis Redbirds to St. Louis and show these guys what a gateway arch is. I mean, these guys have already done that. So they're young professionals is what I would say. But I think that they'll see the effort. Fans will see the effort and the spirit on who's going to do what. I'm anxious to see when somebody starts throwing at people, who's going to take which pitcher is going to fix that. I think last year there were too many times where we didn't respond. I mean, how does a guy get hit 20 times and nobody throws at anybody in Wilson Contreras? And I know that the game has changed and maybe there wasn't the right time in this situation. Well, damn, man, at some point, and you know what? In fairness, though, as I said to Wilson one day, I said, you know how you stop this? You might have to go get somebody. Okay. And he didn't. I mean, he stared at people, but I didn't see anybody go get something. And how many times have we see, once they know you're willing, all of a sudden they start throwing somebody else.
I would love to see the reaction. I would love to see the reaction from St. Louis if somebody catches Wetherholt. Oh, sorry, we're getting a little delay here. My bad. Sorry, Claibs.
Oh, fans will be coming out of the stands wanting a piece of somebody, Wetherholt. And I hope you guys get a chance to get to know him. I spent some time with him in the off season. He's a delightful guy. He's a little bit more mature than his age would indicate. Comes from a really fun family. We were laughing doing the WBC. He wanted to play for the Korean team. And he has a grandmother that's like half Korean. And he said, Clay, can you believe they told me I wasn't Korean enough to be on the Korean team? You don't think they need a little help? I mean, he's a fun guy. He and Wynn have already developed a synergy that I really appreciate. And I know Mason said, man, this is going to be a combination that's going to run for at least 10 years. He and I up the middle. And you can see guys are looking to play for each other. And I think that's what's fun. And watching young people play. And it takes me back to the Memphis Mafia when you had Jay and Descalzo and Pete Cosma and Alan Craig and all those guys. And when they all won in the minors together, they're friends for life. I mean, they have a group text that they do every day. Guys are out of the game, but they played hard for each other and they grew together. And I think this is what we're going to see with Wynn and Wetherholt. Hopefully Victor Scott's in that conversation. You certainly pray that Jordan Walker's in that conversation. If not, he'll go down as the next. You think about a guy that we took high. We haven't had that many. Well, he was taking 22nd, I guess. So that's not high. But when you miss on a first rounder like that, a guy would live in infamy.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Claibs, one more thing from me, and that is. Opening day, 2 weeks from today. Are you done with spring training yet?
Considering I've been here since the middle of January, it's time to go home.
I thought that
and I love Florida. I love the environment. I love the people we have down here. And I love the dinners and the afterlife, the nightlife on certain nights. But it's time to get home and see my dog. And just be in my own house for a little bit, but it's been a good time. You guys have to get down here and see the facilities. Colton Wong, we were talking about it, and Willie and I were talking about it, the facilities and what an impact it has on just the spirit of the environment that we're in, because, you have the ability to do things that other teams have been doing. And the staff, the support staff that we have with coaches and performance people and trainers, I mean, man, I think they hire maybe like 60 more people. The minor leagues will all have an extra coach on their team, which I always felt they should have had anyway.
Yep.
So, they've moved into another generation that I think is going to be fun. And you know what? It's kind of like college, man, where, you see these kids getting recruited and they are enamored with the facilities and the locker rooms and all of those sort of things. And I think the Cardinals took that page for when they do get engaged in legitimate free agents and they want to recruit a guy, they can walk him on this campus and say, hey, look, our layout here is as good as anywhere you're going to be. And this is who we are. And we've proven that we can win in the past. And we're looking forward to having you win with us for our future.
Yeah. By the way, what's Willie doing? Is Willie very busy down there?
Oh, yeah. He's on the backfields with these young outfielders, man. And he's having the time of his life.
Good.
Willie is a teacher. Willie, this is his spot. We were talking about some players the other day. He loves Baez. I said to him, I think Baez is a 4.5 tool player right now. And he said probably more of a 4 because there's one element in every position of being a 5-tool player he needs to be consistent with. Because, last year he kind of came out of nowhere. They thought about making him a pitcher.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't hit. And then all of a sudden it clicked. And I think they want to see, well, I don't know whether they do, but this is what I want to see from Baez. I want to see him fail in Memphis and see how he recovers. I don't want him feeling like he's drinking water through a fire hose because, all of this, spins out of control on him and he doesn't know how to find a plan B. So, but yeah, Willie's having a good time. Colton Wong's down here this week, and he and JJ have been working on that backhand play up the middle, and I don't know anybody who did it better as a Cardinal second baseman than Colton Wong. So, they're trying to bring back that Cardinal spirit. I know Wayno's scheduled to be here next week, and there are other guys. And remember this, we've had a lot of guys who were good players that doesn't necessarily mean they had to wear a red jacket.
Yeah,
that can contribute. So I'm looking forward to having those guys back and being able to make sure this next generation of Cardinals are ones that are successful and get us back to our winning ways.
So combining that thought with what you were saying earlier about standing up for themselves, who's the person that needs to sidle up to Richard Fitz and explain to him if the other team plunks JJ Wetherholt off the elbow and you're the starting pitcher, this city will love you if you go up there your next inning and hit the very next guy? Who's got to be the guy who sidles up to Richard Fitz and explains to him?
That's a good question.
Pretty good way to get these fans on your side.
Yeah, that's a good question. And by the way, anybody who wants to run out on Fitz, I hope they had a good breakfast because he's a big boy. Okay,
exactly.
He and I, we found something to disagree on already. He's an Auburn guy, and I'm not. But he's a really delightful guy who's trying to figure it out. But he's a big one. That's Rock. That's a good question. But I was always told if somebody has to tell you to do that, then you're in the wrong place. You need to figure it out. Now having said that, Tony kind of controlled that when he was a manager. And we've had other managers since then who kind of let guys figure it out internally, or they'll tell somebody this isn't the time. So I'm not sure if that's a player. That's maybe somebody that might be the bench coach who's kind of said to somebody else to say to somebody else, hey, this is a guy that, we need to make sure we protect our guys. And then you pick it up. That's the one thing about this game has changed dramatically. And listen, if I was pitching, I'd be drilling guys because I know I didn't have to bat. And I always remember Pedro Martinez, I love to listen to these guys who talk so tough when they win the American League, not having to worry about somebody coming, not worrying about somebody throwing at them. And today, guys don't really even think about it. And, you don't hear anybody talk about it. And like I said, we got hit so much last year, it was embarrassing.
I'm trying to find a guy in baseball with Kershaw gone and CC gone, I'm trying to find a guy in baseball where you say, okay, that will be if a guy gets hit, that guy will respond. I can't.
You know what? I'm going to tell you who I think it could be. It could be Paul Skenes.
Okay.
It could be him. And because he had, remember, Paul Skenes hasn't pitched professionally that much. He was a catcher. So maybe the catcher mentality comes out and figuring, well, you know what? They're trying to send a message. Let me gift wrap one for them so they'll understand who we are as the Pittsburgh Pirates. And granted, no one in his right mind would want to run out on Skenes because the Pittsburgh Steelers would be running out on the field to protect Skenes before somebody could get to him. I mean, he is the face of the city of Pittsburgh. So, but I think a guy like Skenes, it's got to be a guy on the high end of the totem pole that when he hits you, then he's sending a message.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I could see that.
Yeah.
You got one more thing?
Yeah, sure. What do you got?
One guy that I was thinking about here is George Soriano. He struck out in the side today, 5 outings.
I like him.
No runs allowed, 7 strikeouts in 5 innings. What you like him?
Yeah, I do. I think he's going to be part of that Memphis shuttle. I was talking to Ben Johnson, the Memphis manager, yesterday about what he's going to inherit as far as pitching. A lot of good bullpenners. There'll be some guys they'll try and stretch out. But, Soriano's been around just a little bit. He's Alfonso Soriano's cousin. He has good stuff. Now, the book on him is he looks good early, but when he gets settled in, maybe he loses a little bit of velocity. Maybe, I don't know whether it's the focus or not, or maybe somebody's not reminding him of what works for him. But I think he's a guy that they're going to probably leave in the minors and give him a chance to come up. The challenge that the Cardinals have right now is you're already at the 40 man, okay? And so a guy like Packy Naughton, who's an invite, I like Packy. I think Packy's been as good of a lefty we've had in the spring. You got to make room for him, so somebody's got to go. And so Ricky Horton and I had this conversation about, when you try and do this 40-man sub, you kind of go pitcher for pitcher or player for player. So you have to figure out who that person is going to come off, and if you can clear waivers and you can send them out. There's a lot of paperwork behind the scenes that comes into play on when you move a guy who's not on your 40-man roster. So that's going to be a little bit of a wrangle for them at some point. And at some point, they might have to kind of cut back on those guys because if they expose them too much, somebody else is going to want to claim them if they have to put them on waivers. So there's a lot of things they have to do.
One move that they do have in their holster if they want to use it is putting Roby on the 60 day.
Yeah,
right?
Roby on a 60-day. That was another discussion we had on how long. And there may be another guy that we might throw on the 60-day somewhere down the road. I hope it's not Lars Nootbaar, but it might be. Like I said, he has not taken on any baseball activities. Today he was doing some light agility drills. But as far as stepping in the cage or shagging balls or any of that stuff, he's not there yet. And I am of the belief that Lars Nootbaar isn't good enough to say, oh, I just need a couple of at-bats in Memphis and I'll be ready. No. Bro, you're going to go down there because of your injury history. We need to make sure you're right, okay? Because when you get up here and then you have an ouchie that ends up being 6 weeks, now you really put us in bad shape. So let's get it right. And if you're ever going to get it right before Flag Day, and then you have a chance.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, I got to give you one more thing here. Because I thought of something when you mentioned Skenes. The Indianapolis, the Pirates AAA pitching coach is Drew Bennis, Andy's son. And so Andy will visit Drew and they'll go down and play golf. And then they'll the team will outfit Andy. Andy will be in uniform and just talk to the pitchers. And so, number one, you can see Andy Bennis is as old school as it gets. You can see how in conversations with Paul Skenes when Skenes was there, how that had happened. But Andy told me a story that he and Skenes were just sitting down in the bullpen. It was just those two. And Andy doesn't pay attention to social media or anything like that. So it was when Skenes first got there to Indianapolis. And Andy says, So you got a girlfriend? Tell me about what's going on. And then he doesn't. So Skenes has no idea, and so Skenes
He thinks it's a joke, huh?
This girl, and they talk about life, and then he goes back home with Drew that night, and Drew says, "What'd you talk to Skenes about?" He said, "Yeah, just we talked pitching, and I just asked him about stuff." He said, "Did you talk about Libby?" And he said, "What?" He said, "Well, his girlfriend is one of the most famous women in America," and so. Andy comes back the next day and he says, "Dude, I'm really sorry. I just don't pay attention to that stuff. I had no idea who your girlfriend was. I'm sorry that I didn't know." And Skenes said, "I was so happy that somebody wasn't asking me about."
There you go. And that's something. And I got to know him a little bit last year. He and Tommy Pham were pretty cool. Really. Tommy Pham told me that he might be the hardest worker other than himself he's ever seen as far as preparing for a game. And we all know Tommy, who it's criminal that he doesn't have a job right now.
Ridiculous.
But he would say, and he would go to dinner, and Skenes would always wear a suit and tie on the day he pitched. He always wore a suit and tie on the plane, as did Tommy. And so they had that little bond. But then they started talking about workout and philosophy and approach. And again, remember, Skenes used to be a catcher. This pitching thing is kind of new, so he's always listening and learning. So, for a guy who's climbing this ladder, I love the way he accepts things that take place within his life and within his very young career. And I hope he leads the way to that next generation of very good pitchers. And I get a kick out of when old heads meet young guys. I remember Bob Gibson and I having lunch one day, and he said, "Hey, man, tell me about this Jack Flaherty guy." Because Bob would watch every game. I said, "Well, he's this, he's that." He said, "I want to meet him because that son of a bitch can pitch. I want to meet him." I never heard Bob Gibson say he ever wanted to meet anybody. All right. Wow. So so it was one of Cardinal weekend, maybe it was Hall of Fame weekend or whatever. And I told Jack, I said, "Hey, Bob Gibson's going to be in the dugout for a ceremony. Go introduce yourself to him." And so he comes in the dugout, and Gibson comes over and introduces himself to him.
Oh, wow. So
they sit there. And so when they're announcing people to come out on the field, ladies and gentlemen, Bob Gibson. Bob's still sitting in the dugout talking to Flair. He wasn't paying attention to anything. And that relationship they had was so cool, where they would stay in touch and just talk about pitching and pitching inside and when to go after somebody. So if you all remember Game 5 when the Cardinals played Atlanta in the playoffs, and remember they were blowing them out, they scored like 11 runs in the first inning. Yep. And remember Acuna was hot dogging it all through the series. And I guess Jack felt like, you know what, I've seen enough of this, so we're gonna fix this right now. And remember, he drilled Acuna, and Acuna had to come out of the game. So when the game was over and everybody was in the clubhouse celebrating, and Jack says, "Hey, you think Bob was watching tonight?" I said, "Bob always watches." He said, "I wanted to call him." I said, "Well, let's call him right now." And so I called him on my phone, and he just answered the phone laughing. And he said, "Yes." And so he said, "Put him on the phone. Well, he's got to be somewhere in there." And the look Jack had on his face, because it was basically Bob saying, "That's what I'm talking about." I'll never forget that expression. And that's what this game is. You don't have to be a Hall of Famer to talk to these young players about the game and things beyond the game and life. Man, you have no idea the impact they have on these young players. And Ozzy's the best example here in spring training. When Ozzy takes young guys to dinner, that's something they'll never forget, because some of them may never get to the big leagues, but they'll always say, "Hey, I had dinner with a Hall of Famer one night."
Pretty cool. Claibs, great stuff as always. Great to talk to you, man. And we can't wait to see you 2 weeks from today over at the ballpark.
I will be there, and not a day sooner. I can just promise you that. Hey, what are you guys looking at? Did Missouri step on it today?
They did, yeah. Kentucky got them by 6, so Mizzou's probably out of the tournament.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Good. Probably in Dayton at least. Best case scenario.
Yeah, that might be it. What about SLU? What do you like about them?
GW tomorrow at 10:30 is their matchup. It's a tricky one because GW's got Castro healthy, and they gave Mizzou a really close game at Chaffetz Arena. So on the neutral site, with Robbie injured, it'll be an adventure.
What about the fact that they may have to play VCU again, huh?
Yeah, beating
hard
VCU
to beat a team three times, man. Hard to beat a team 3 times. So
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. I'm looking forward to just getting back. Well, the basketball will be over with by the time I get back. And the Blues, I don't know what to say about that situation, but just getting back in the local flavor of what goes on locally, sports-wise, I'm looking forward to seeing it firsthand.
You will like watching the new Jimmy Snuggerud, man, playing with Thomas.
I watched him. Yeah. I watch the games down here, and I like them. Man, this team needs so much, man. Who are the St. Louis Blues? They don't play a heavy game. They don't have many guys that can fight. They don't have many guys. Snuggerud and Neighbors will go to the net, but that Snuggerud's shot is too valuable for him to be crashing the net. He needs to be a slot guy, off-wing guy looking to snap one off. We have no toughness. Tyler Tucker tries, and I appreciate his effort. This is a team that's got to do a rebuild as far as I'm concerned. And
Mayu needs to develop a little nasty. We're going to see Lindstein's a pretty skilled guy. Stenberg has a chance to be pretty good. I think that you'll like what you see from some of the other young, like a guy like Holloway, and he's been hurt, but he's a stud.
When he's healthy, he's a good player.
Yeah.
We need to go find a big rugged Western Canadian, some guy from, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Pine Bluff.
How old is Shanahan's kid?
That would be good. That if he plays half as good as his old man. But point being, we have to find somebody who represents this team as far as you're not going to do that to us.
Yeah.
And Braden Shen tried. And I know this was a really interesting week for him. But, as hard as he tried, Braden Shen was a minus 26.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you got to be able to back up your game with a game. And, and I thought Braden Shen did as good of a job as he could sticking up for guys, in my opinion, who weren't worthy of sticking up for some nights. So we got to fix this thing in the offseason.
Yeah, we'll see what they do.
All right,
have a good
boys.
night, sir.
Have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys a week. Is it a week from today?
2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today. All right. Well, let me go get it. Yeah, I'll be ready to go. Just give me good weather. Give me good weather. I do not want to be rained out because I have plans on Friday night. When you have an off night on a Friday in a baseball season, you have to take full advantage of it.
Yes, you do. Okay. We'll make sure that it's good for you.
Work on it. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.
That's great. Mike Claiborne,
Thanks,
our
guys.
partner here and the teammate here at STL Sports Central.
I want to tell you guys a little bit as we talk the conference tournaments here. I want to tell you guys about our friends over at the Key Burger Bar and Boogie. That's your new home in the Grand Center Arts District, just there off the corner of Olive and Compton, down the street from Shavitz Arena. The Burger Bar features the ultimate smash burger experience with a dozen house-made sauces. You can see that beautiful eating area right there on your screen right now. They got the bar, as you can see in the top picture back there in the left corner. They got the food window as well, and that's where you're getting that ultimate smash burger experience. Get the fries as well. That's what makes the sauces pop. And you can make plans now to be at the Key STL for all the great college basketball coming up. They will have all kinds of fun happening, including drink specials each time an underdog wins a first-round game, as well as a Beat the Bartender contest. If you're going to the first and second round games here in St. Louis, you can head to the Key STL before and after the games. That's the Key STL Burger Bar and Boogie, 3225 Olive in Midtown, before, during, or after any game. You can find out more at thekeystl.com. And of course, hopefully you'll be watching 3 local teams there.
Mm-hmm.
Missouri did waste their SEC tournament by falling to Kentucky in a very ugly game. Mark Mitchell again poured in a borderline career high with 32 points, and he didn't get a lot of help from almost anybody else. T.O. Barrett was turnover Barrett for large chunks of the first and second half. Sean Phillips had a down Sean Phillips game, and nobody else really came to play for the Missouri Tigers, and they bow out of the SEC tournament. You'd say one round too early to make yourself feel good. Still a chance, I think they're playing in Dayton, but if they got left out, it also wouldn't surprise me.
Auburn is down by 8 late to Tennessee. Tennessee will be in. Auburn is a bubble team. Miami of Ohio lost their first game today. Do they get in as do they?
I think they're clean. Yeah, I think 31-1.
Okay,
you're clean.
So that's a bid steal right there in the MAC. So that's two. That'd be 2 schools. It looks like VCU and SLU both have a great chance to be in. That'd be another bid that would be stolen from a team like Mizzou. the more mid-majors where their number one regular season team goes down, the more Mizzou gets pushed backwards.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the worst thing about Mizzou. They looked like they were going to hit things hot, and then the Arkansas game happens. Today happens, and other than Mark Mitchell, just there's been nothing positive out of the Missouri Tigers these last two games. Mitchell's been incredible, but you would expect with Mark Mitchell's having 32-point games, you would expect that's going to draw a double every once in a while. That's going to draw eyes, which means that there should be more opportunities for Trent Pierce to get some three-point shots. There should be more opportunities for Sean Phillips to be able to ISO an opposing big man in the paint and get an easy 2 points. There should be chances where where T.O. Barrett's catching the ball, the defender is coming to him off kilter, and then T.O. Barrett can beat him with the ball on the floor in a drive to the hoop. Like, all these things should be happening if Mark Mitchell is pouring in that game. Same time, you do then have to credit Arkansas and you have to credit Kentucky, because if you are just going to play the strategy of let's have one guy beat us and make sure nothing else happens, that takes some incredible studious defending to not overhelp or to bite on the ball fakes from Mark Mitchell and help that way. That way he doesn't get easy assists. That's why Mizzou doesn't get easy buckets. And that's why you stop the Missouri Tigers. And it appears to have worked 2 times in a row in the SEC.
And I do think this goes, and I'm a Dennis Gates fan. I'll preface this by saying that. But I do think that this team's physical skill didn't live up to what they should be. This should be a more consistently strong team. And the only player that was really consistent all year long was Mitchell. You had 4 other guys that were, or more, that were just on a roller coaster. And I think a lot of that does come back to not just the head coach, but the coaching staff. And so I just think that they should have been better than they were.
Yeah, I think that's 100% completely fair. And now we roll on to the Billikens, who have their opponent, GW, tomorrow early in the morning, 10:30. We'll have the post game right here on STL Sports Central coming to you around 12:30. And this is a tough one, Randy, because going back to watch the previous GW game, it was really the first team other than Duquesne who had kind of been able to successfully throw enough bodies at the Billikens to slow them down. Rafael Castro, if he's healthy and GW wins 3 or 4 more games, I think he probably wins Defensive Player of the Year. But because he missed a huge chunk and because the team was so bad, the league writers didn't want to vote him that way, or the team, the coaches didn't want to vote him that way. Either way, Castro's a monster defensively when he's healthy, and Robbie Avila isn't healthy. So he guarded him a lot in that GW SLU matchup. That's of course why the final play that they got the big game-winning shot where Kellen Thames drove it. Yeah. GW dropped all their players to go with Kellen Thames. Robbie Avila is wide open on the perimeter. I mean, he can just sit back and not have to worry about Robbie Avila being anything but a 3-point shooting threat with Avila's plantar fasciitis that is going to keep him immobile for large chunks of the game. He can move, but it's super painful, so it's just hard to. So I wonder if we do see the Billikens pull the move of just say, Robbie's out. We're going to bang bodies with Paulo Tieno and Rafael Castro for 25 minutes, and then the other 15 minutes of the game, we're going to go small, play 5 out, and try to drag Castro away from the paint and get people in behind him. The issue there is Castro's very good at playing a paint guy, taking one step in and then using his almost 7-foot wingspan to swat the shit out of anything you do. But that's one of the only ways I see the Billikens winning tomorrow. They got to pivot a little bit, and they might have to throw out a lineup there without Robbie Avila.
And in regards to Robbie Avila, if it's allowed, and I don't know if it is, one word: Toradol.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a bionic foot.
No, that'd be good.
I think Toradol is allowed and will be in somebody's syringe.
There is a team that you know very well that won a World Series because of Toradol.
The last 40?
What?
I'm saying like the last 40 teams that have won the World Series, all of them probably used a healthy amount of Toradol.
Baseball has outlawed it.
Oh, it is outlawed?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, baseball has outlawed a painkiller?
Yeah.
Why?
And there are other painkillers because it's addictive and you use too much of it and it's bad for you.
I mean, that's true. I just figured, I mean, it's not like it's, I mean, how many injuries in baseball need Toradol the way that like hockey and football need it?
I heard that the 06 Cardinals might have had like a line into the trainer's office. or on the day before the playoffs started, or 2 days before the playoffs started. Then all of a sudden you got the lineup.
Toradol is not a banned substance by the NCAA.
There you go.
We're cooking with peanut oil, ladies and gentlemen.
We are.
Get Robbie Avila and his foot back on track. Wasn't in a boot, which kind of surprised me, but I think it's one of those things where if a boot could help, he'd be in a boot. It'll be interesting. Watch the Twitter accounts of our good friends Stu Durando and Tom Timmerman, because they are on the ground in Pittsburgh, and I'm expecting some kind of tweet from one of them that confirms whether or not Robbie Avila got on the court either yesterday or today in SLU practice. I guess we'll find out.
Could be legendary. Great job, sir.
Ooh.
Shirts?
tweeted this 30 minutes ago.
Shirts? A Billiken board?
Yeah, no, Shirts tweeted the eye emojis and the surprise face emojis. This is from Josh Shirts at 3:57 p.m. What the hell? Wait, okay, so the games is that when one of the other games went final? Is that when the second A-10 game would have been final?
Maybe his agent got the call from Arizona State.
Don't do that.
That he's already on their list.
Stop.
Apparently.
I know, but don't.
You don't put it out there in the universe.
I think I know what he was reacting to. St. Bonaventure beat George Mason earlier. Holy crap. St. Bonaventure in the pillow fight yesterday beat the living crap.
They came back too. They were down.
Yeah, they ended up beating the crap out of LaSalle, didn't they?
Yeah, they're honoring their coach. Their coach,
yes, Schmidt, who's retiring, getting run out of the building by Adrian Wojnarowski. Yeah, and so they beat the shit out of LaSalle yesterday. So yeah, if you're wearing green and gold right now, the Bonnies are here to end your season potentially. George Mason getting bumped out by the Bonnies. The Bonnies 4-14 in A-10 play. George Mason 11-7 in A-10 play. Bye George Mason. I believe that is their at-large bid Dunzo. So right now at this point, VCU, SLU, and I guess Dayton could be live still to win the A-10 tournament, and then SLU would be, because Lenardi still has two A-10 teams right now. So I think right now that kills George Mason's at-large bid and potentially changes who the Billikens could face, or maybe just locks in the Billikens facing VCU in the – it would be Dayton versus George Mason, sorry. Almost locks in Dayton as a team that SLU's going to have to go through.
Looking forward to it.
Ooh, that's going to be very interesting.
We will see you next time on the Randy Karraker Show. Wilson got us on the air. For Matthew, I'm Randy, and take care, everyone. We'll see you again.